I'm Mackenzie Campbell, and I'm your student's ELA teacher for 8th grade this year. Welcome to Curriculum Night. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an overview of my class and some important information about Canvas and staying in touch and having a successful year in this strange year that we're going through. So what we're currently working on is a unit on Summer of the Mariposas, which is a novel by Guadalupe Garcia McCall. It's a really interesting text. It is set on the border between Texas and Mexico. It's about a family who is on an epic adventure, literally an epic adventure. It is modeled after Homer's Odyssey. They encounter all kinds of fantasy creatures, just like Homer and just like Odysseus in the Odyssey. They overcome all kinds of obstacles. It is a fun text, and the students seem to be really enjoying it. Next, we'll be diving into The Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan, which is a nonfiction text about food and why we eat the things we eat and how it impacts the environment and the world around us. So that'll be a nice change of pace, but we won't be getting to that for a little while. So right now, as we're reading Summer of the Mariposas, we're currently focusing on point of view, theme, characterization, those big literary elements that we go over again and again in ELA class. So, like I said, that's what we're currently working on, but up next, students are going to be really delving into their writing. They're going to be working on something called a literary summary, where they're focusing a lot more on theme and building their knowledge on objective summaries, writing summaries of text, being specific, including details from the source text. So really working on those writing skills. And then later on, more towards the end of the month, which will be perfect for Halloween, students are going to be researching Latin American monsters like myths and folklore. And they're going to be using those to write their own narrative where they're taking one of those monsters and they're going to be modernizing it and placing it within the story, the setting of Summer of the Mariposas with our characters there. So that'll be really exciting. I'm looking forward to that. It's a great creative writing experience, but also helps the students work on things like dialogue, work on things like research, because they have to learn about these myths and folklore in order to incorporate them in their own writing. So next up, keeping in touch. I've had a lot of parents already send me emails. I've emailed a lot of parents. Email is usually the best way to keep in contact. And my email is on the screen there if you want to jot it down. It's also linked on the website for Carmel, and it's also on my Canvas page, which I'll show you guys in just a minute. Also, feel free to join our Remind. Most of my students have joined Remind. It's an app they can download, or they can just use it through their text messaging on their phone. All you do is go to the app and then put in our class code. Feel free to join the class that your student is in, and that way if I send out reminders or if you have questions, it's an easy way to get in touch with me, almost like as easy as text messaging. I have a lot of parents who are already on there, and I encourage you to do that too if that's something that you would find convenient. And usually it's less of me sending out announcements and honestly more of students letting me know that they got booted out of the Zoom, or students letting me know that they've got a dentist appointment and they're not going to be in class. Students find it really handy to communicate with their teachers. It's quick and easy. So maybe you will find it quick and easy as well. So I encourage you to join that if you're interested. So this is our Canvas page. Canvas is, of course, this year where all of our content is housed. This is where students go every single day for every single class to access their live classes, to access their work, to submit work, to check, missing assignments, things like that. Canvas is all encompassing this year. Students can find the Zoom links for our class right on our front page. I tried to make them easy and obvious to find. They click the link for their block when it is time to come to class, and I'll let them in and we will begin class when class time starts. Sometimes students are clicking on the wrong block at the wrong time, so just make sure they're checking the schedule, and entering class or attempting to enter the Zoom at the appropriate time so that we're all there at the same time having our class. The next important thing about our Canvas page is the previous image was the top of the page. This is when you scroll down. I have a ton of quick links here. You just have to click on any of these bars and it will take you to important information. The first one at the top is my Zoom office hours. Students should know this because we've communicated it with them, but I want to communicate it with you guys as well. Every teacher is available at 8 a.m. on Tuesday mornings for office hours. This could be time for tutoring, time for retesting, time to just check in and ask questions, clarifying questions about class. So if your student is behind, if your student needs to make up a test, then this is the prime time to do that. For me, you can just pop in and I will click you in and I will be there with you at 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Some teachers want you to email and let them know ahead of time. So just make sure you're communicating with the teacher. You know what their individual expectations are. Underneath that are grades, and I'll show you that what that does in just a minute. Then we have a link to a class calendar. I've embedded a Google Calendar there with all of our teacher work days, all of our big assessment dates in there. So it's easy for students to visualize what is coming up in the next couple of weeks. The independent reading link is an extra credit opportunity that ends at the end of this quarter. It ends on the 12th of October. So if you are interested in having your student participate in that, please encourage them to do so. All they have to do is pick a book to read for fun, and there are just 2 little steps that they have to do to confirm that they've actually read it, and they can get some extra credit. It also helps encourage independent reading, which research shows is incredibly important for brain development, for reading comprehension skills, for success in life going forward, right? The next one, contact me. That is where you can find my contact information if you need it. And then text for ELA. I'll show you that in a minute as well. All right, so grades, if you click on this, it takes you to a page where I have hyperlinked every single assignment that has been graded in PowerSchool so far. So if a student is missing an assignment and they can't find it and they're scrolling through Canvas and they're freaking out, this page is helpful because they have far less to look through. They can just find that actual assignment. They're in order, like the most recent assignments are at the top. They can click it, takes them directly to that assignment. They can finish it up and turn it in. Quick and easy. Next is our text for ELA. All of our texts this year are online. We have digital copies through Sora, which is an online library. So they can click there to access that text on Sora, or they can just go to Sora. Most students at this point just have Sora bookmarked and they can go directly to it. Our text is really neat because you can still highlight, you can still leave notes in the digital text. So something that we value a lot as ELA teachers that we can do with a physical book. Students can also do those kinds of annotations online as they are reading. All right, and then accessing our work on Canvas is pretty straightforward. On the left-hand side of the Canvas page, there's a button that says Modules. I have it circled here. They click that and it takes them to their work for every day. I have every module broken up into our live, like our synchronous work, and then our independent, our asynchronous work, so that students know, okay, this is the chunk that we're doing together, and this is the chunk that I have to do independently during the second half of class. And we're trying to really hold to that, having that asynchronous time towards the end of class so they have a little bit more freedom. They can get up and move away from their computer, or they can move their computer to other parts of the house. So they have a little bit more freedom in the structure of that second half of the class. But that's how I try to organize assignments every day. Every day we start with a warm-up together. It's usually a review or a check-in to get us started on our work. Then we'll do a mini lesson together, and then the independent work oftentimes is reading or extra practice. So one struggle I've had is for students to figure out, how do I turn in my assignments? And it isn't very difficult, but they're easily overwhelmed. So on assignment pages, once you click on an assignment in Canvas, if they need to turn something in, a button pops up at the top that says Submit Assignment. They have to click that. Then most of our assignments, they're uploading a document that they've already had access to. So this box pops up and they will upload their document directly from Google Drive. Their Google Drive connects to Canvas, so it's really easy. They just log into Google Drive and they click select file and then attach the file, submit, and they are done. But they just need to make sure they're walking through that step, following the directions, because the directions do pop up on the screen for them. A lot of times students are like, well, I did it, but they didn't click submit. They didn't turn it in. And I can't access any of their work until they submit it. So it's not like when they're in the classroom and they can just dig it out of their backpack. They have to actually submit it so that I can see it. So something to think about is how you can help your student be successful throughout distance learning, because even once we start that hybrid plan back in the classroom, some students are going to be virtual certain weeks, and some students will be virtual for the rest of the semester and maybe even the rest of the school year if that's what you have elected. And I know it's tough. It's tough on everybody. It's tough on parents, it's tough on teachers, and it's definitely tough on students. So some tips I have based on what I've seen. The first thing is, if possible, try to provide a distraction-free area for your student to do their work and make that the work zone, because they do need to be able to separate work from the rest of their lives, just like all of us, right? And having a quiet, distraction-free place allows them to focus a little bit better. I know that it's a challenge. As someone with a toddler, I get it. It's hard to find a quiet spot, but if possible, I think that helps them be more successful as a student. Another thing is for parents, check PowerSchool weekly, but maybe not hourly. Things are constantly being entered and shifted and changed in PowerSchool, especially now that a lot of teachers like myself have connected Canvas to PowerSchool. So things import at different times, and sometimes they don't import correctly, so we have to go back and fix them. And it's easy to micromanage PowerSchool because it's convenient to check, or sometimes you set it so that you get notifications anytime something has been placed in there. But I would recommend checking weekly or every couple of days and not every 5 minutes, just so that you get the bigger picture of what's going on, and not every single notification as things are being changed. It can be overwhelming and stressful that way. Another thing is to check in emotionally with your student, not just academically. One thing that I'm noticing is that students are, when they're getting overwhelmed and then they're starting to shut down, they're getting behind in their work. And when your teacher is not standing there beside you in the classroom saying, all right, let's complete this task next, let's accomplish this next, they start getting overwhelmed and then they start shutting down and feeling like they can't handle it, like they can't do it. And they can do it. So one of my suggestions is to try to put words to those feelings. When I'm doing conferences with students and they're like, I don't know, or I don't understand, I try to get them to be more specific. Okay, can you point me to what you don't understand? Can you point me to a question that you're having problems with? Well, the same thing goes with their emotions, right? You notice your child is feeling bad. Well, are they overwhelmed, or are they confused about an assignment? Are they frustrated because the assignment is taking longer than they thought it would? Are they not having time to complete it? Just trying to hone in, not just on bad, 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 but also specifically what is causing that bad feeling, because then you can work towards a solution. All right, and then the next one, students, as they get behind, have a hard time prioritizing their tasks, and if you can help, that would be great. I'm also working on this with students. What I'm noticing is that they missed an assignment 6 weeks ago, like the first week of school. They missed one thing, and they're fixated on that one thing because it happened 6 weeks ago. But really what they also need to be focused on is the test that they haven't taken yet. The test is worth, I think it's like 70% of the formal assignment in the grade book, but that one informal assignment is worth next to nothing. So helping them prioritize taking care of those big assignments first and then working on the small things afterwards. And then, of course, encourage your student to be an active participant in class. That doesn't mean that they always have to have their camera on, but just actively listening, asking questions